How can a story about a man's final, painful days be the ultimate lesson on how to truly live? We spend our lives running from the thought of our own end. But what if one person, 2.500 years ago, showed us how to walk toward it without fear, turning his own death into a final, profound masterclass for all of humanity? The story begins not with a sermon, but with a single, shuffling step on a dusty road at dawn. An ancient man, his saffron robe blowing in the new light, begins his final journey. You are there, walking behind him, a silent witness to the last lesson of the Buddha, a lesson not spoken in words, but lived in every single, courageous step toward his own end. Every single one of us must one day walk the path toward our own mortality. There is no map, and for many, the journey is filled with fear. But what if there was a blueprint? What if one of the wisest beings in human history left us a detailed account? Not of his teachings on death, but of his practice of dying. This is that story. A frail old man steps onto a dusty road at dawn, his saffron robe blowing softly in the golden light. Behind him, a young monk, his face etched with concern, carries a simple water vessel. Along the path, villagers emerge from their homes, watching in a hushed, reverent silence. You quickly realize this is no ordinary journey. This is the Buddha's final walk. And somehow, you are there, following him, your own feet stirring the same pale dust that cakes his worn sandals. At 80 years old, his body trembles with the great weight of age, yet his gaze remains impossibly steady, as sharp and clear as it was beneath the Bodhi tree decades ago. Each step he takes feels deliberate, his pace unhurried but utterly unyielding. Whispers ripple through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. Why now, when his strength is visibly fading? Some say he knows his end is near and wishes to choose the place of his final rest. Others believe this is his last and greatest lesson, a living teaching on the profound truth of impermanence. The path winds past small villages and quiet, dew-kissed fields. You watch as the Buddha pauses beneath an ancient banyan tree, its tangled roots gripping the earth like a wizened hand. He seats himself simply on the ground, and the crowd gathers. His voice, when he speaks, is gentle but carries with the clarity of a temple bell. All things, conditioned by causes, must change. Compassion is your only true refuge. Walk on with diligence. His words feel less like speech and more like ripples spreading through still water, touching the heart of everyone gathered around. As the sun climbs higher, you see him offer blessings to farmers who kneel in the dirt, their faces filled with awe. You watch him comfort grieving mothers who clutch their small children, and you see him offer a faint, knowing smile to those who simply weep at the sight of him. Despite his obvious frailty, he radiates a calm, unshakable strength. Every gesture becomes an unspoken teaching. This is not just a journey to the town of Kushinaga. It is a pilgrimage through his own mortality, a master class in how to walk toward the great mystery of death without a trace of fear. You feel it as you trail behind him, the weight of his steps pressing into the earth like a seal, marking the very path you too must one day walk. Here, At the beginning of his final journey, you see the truth with startling clarity. The Buddha's last lesson is not found in scriptures, but in the way he moves, slowly and gracefully, toward his own inevitable end. You sit beneath the shade of a tree, listening as the Buddha's voice carries softly through the afternoon air. The world feels suspended, as if nature itself is holding its breath. His closest attendant, Ananda, kneels near him, his brow deeply furrowed with a worry he cannot hide. Then, in words that are both clear and unwavering, the Buddha makes a declaration that stills every heart. 3 months from this very day, the Tathagata will pass into final nirvana. The weight of those words hangs heavy and absolute in the silence. You see Ananda's eyes widen, his lips part as if to protest, but no sound can escape. For years, he has walked at his teacher's side, a loyal shadow, yet nothing in his life has prepared him for this moment. The Buddha's calm, in contrast, is almost startling. He speaks of relinquishing the will to live, not from a place of despair or weariness, but from a place of profound acceptance. He explains how life itself is like a flame, bright, warm, and beautiful, but never, ever permanent. In this moment, you realize he is not only predicting his death, he is inviting you, and everyone present, to see what it truly means to meet it without fear. In the days that follow, you watch as the Buddha arranges his final affairs with a serene, methodical precision. He settles disputes among the monks, offers final guidance to lay followers, and gives gentle counsel to all who seek it. He even speaks of the details of his own funeral, not with dread or sorrow, but with the same unshakable equanimity that he has always taught. Here, you witness something truly extraordinary. His dying is not a retreat from the world, but a powerful continuation of his teaching. It is a final, living lesson in impermanence, compassion, and unwavering awareness. You can't help but wonder, what would it feel like to know the exact day of your own death? Would you resist it, deny it, bargain with it, or could you, like him, turn it into an act of wisdom? Watching the Buddha's steady gaze, you feel a strange and profound peace settle over you. He is not vanishing into nothingness. He is showing the way forward, step by step, even now, and as the sun dips low, painting the horizon in hues of gold and rose, you begin to see his final journey not as an ending, but as the most profound and beautiful expression of the path he has walked all his life. You follow the Buddha and Ananda into the quiet village of Parva. The air is cool and clean, scented with the smell of rich earth after a recent rain. Here, a humble metal worker named Kunda steps forward from the small crowd, his hands trembling with a mixture of awe and reverence. With a bowed head, he invites the Buddha to share a meal in his home. It is an offering born of pure devotion, but Kunda is tragically unaware that it will soon become one of the most debated moments in Buddhist history. You watched as Kunda prepares a special dish called Sukaramadava. To this day, scholars debate its nature. Some say it was a tender portion of pork. Others argue it was a rare, delicate mushroom delicacy. Whatever its true nature, the Buddha accepts it with a serene smile, blessing the food before he begins to eat. His movements are deliberate, mindful, as though this simple act of receiving a meal carries a deep and profound meaning. Afterward, as the day begins to wane, a dark shadow falls, the Buddha's body weakens sharply. He is suddenly racked by severe pain and a violent dysentery. His skin grows pale, his breath shortens, yet his eyes remain luminous and steady. A wave of concern and alarm ripples through the disciples. But the Buddha speaks first, and his words are not of himself, but of Kunda. He turns to the distraught Ananda and says softly, "Tell him not to feel any regret. Tell him that offering the final meal to a Buddha is an act of the greatest merit, equal to offering the meal before his enlightenment." In that moment, you see it clearly. Compassion has the power to outshine even the most immense suffering. Even in the throes of a painful illness, his faults are not of his own agony, but of shielding another human being from the sorrow of guilt. The journey resumes. Despite his crippling pain, you watch him rise, his steps slower and more deliberate than ever, pausing often to rest beneath the shade of trees. Still, he presses forward toward his final destination of Kushinaga. His sheer persistence is transformed into another silent teaching, that even on the very edge of death, the path is walked with courage, with mindfulness, and with an unwavering grace. Whispers grow among the disciples. Was the meal poisoned? Was this a terrible fate, or a tragic accident? Yet the Buddha himself dismisses all such suspicion. His illness becomes not a tale of treachery, but a final, powerful lesson in acceptance, accepting what life offers, without resistance, without blame. As you walk behind him, you feel a quiet shift inside yourself. His suffering does not diminish him. In a strange and beautiful way, it magnifies him. Here is the living proof of his teaching, lived out to its fullest expression. Even in pain, there is no fear, only a serene and total surrender to the impermanence of all things. You finally arrive with the Buddha and his disciples at Kushinaga, a quiet town cradled by the green foothills of the Himalayas. The journey has been long and harsh, yet the Buddha's presence remains a steady, calming anchor, his peace unbroken even as his body finally falters. The sun is sinking low, casting a long, amber light across the fields when he instructs Ananda, "Prepare a resting place for me between those two sala trees." You walk with him to the grove he has chosen. The twin sala trees stand tall and graceful, their trunks weathered and ancient. And then you notice something strange. Though it is not their season, the trees are beginning to bloom. Pale white blossoms begin to open, their petals falling like soft, fragrant snow around him. You feel the air grow still, almost sacred, as if nature itself is bowing in recognition of this momentous occasion. The Buddha lies down on his right side, his head pointing to the north. In the lion's posture, his simple saffron robe is a stark contrast against the darkening earth. He rests his head on his hand, his face perfectly serene as he gazes toward the horizon. Ananda kneels beside him, his broad shoulders trembling, tears unspilled but heavy and present in his eyes. "Listen, Bhikkhus," the Buddha says softly, his voice carrying to all who have gathered. all compounded things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. His words are gentle, yet they cut through the evening silence like a bell, a final, poignant reminder of impermanence. You see Ananda bow deeply, his forehead pressing into the cool ground. In the fading light, monks gather around, their robes forming a solemn circle of muted reds and yellows. The sala petals continue to drift down over them like a silent blessing. The air feels charged with energy, yet is profoundly, deeply peaceful. You watch the last sliver of sun disappear beyond the grove, leaving the sky aflame in shades of gold and deep violet. This place, so ordinary just hours ago, has been transformed into a sacred stage. Here, beneath blooming solid trees, an enlightened being prepares to leave the world, not in fear, not in resistance, but with perfect, luminous equanimity. The hush deepens, you feel it in your chest, a sense of awe and finality. This is not simply a deathbed, it is the closing of a great circle. The Buddha was born beneath trees, he was awakened beneath trees, and now, beneath these trees, he will pass beyond all becoming. You sit among the silent rows of monks in the grove of sala trees. The air is thick with a sacred anticipation. The final moments are approaching, and the world itself seems to be waiting, listening for the final lesson. You sit among the silent rows of monks in the grove of sala trees. The air is thick with a sacred anticipation. The final moments are approaching, and the world itself seems to be waiting, listening for the final lesson. And in this profound stillness, the Buddha, frail yet luminous, begins to speak. He turns his gaze first to Ananda, his most devoted attendant, his loyal shadow for so many years. Ananda kneels closer, his face a mask of grief, his eyes brimming with tears he dares not shed. The Buddha speaks softly, and his words are not a teaching, but the tender acknowledgement. You have done much good, Ananda. You have served with a loyal and loving heart. Through your tireless care, countless beings have heard the Dharma. Do not let sorrow cloud your mind now. Strive on for your own awakening. His tone is neither a command nor a plea. It is the sound of love distilled into pure wisdom. You watch Ananda bow deeply, his forehead touching the cool earth as his shoulders tremble with a silent, heartbreaking sob. For him, this is not just the loss of a teacher, but the guide, a friend, the very center of his world. Yet, with his final words of personal comfort, the Buddha reminds him, and all who listen, that even the deepest and most cherished bonds must ultimately yield to the universal law of impermanence. Then, the Buddha turns his attention to the Sangha, the community of monks gathered in a solemn circle around him. His voice, though quiet, carries with perfect clarity across the grove. If any among you, he says, have any doubt or uncertainty concerning the Buddha, the Dharma, or the path, ask now. Do not live to regret later that you missed this final chance. A deep, profound silence settles over the grove. Not a single question is asked. After years of his flawless guidance, his disciples have no uncertainty left. Their silence is not a testament to fear, but to the absolute clarity of his teaching. It is their final, unspoken gift to him, the Buddha then offers what will become known as the Four Great References, a final safeguard for his teachings after he is gone. He instructs them to test any future claim of his words against the sutras and the discipline. He empowers them to measure truth by the Dharma itself, not by mere opinion or the authority of a person. Let wisdom, not blind tradition, be your guide, he urges. These final instructions are so simple, yet so profound. You realize his words are less like a farewell, and more like the passing of a great torch, a meticulous preparation to ensure that the light of truth endures long after the lamp is gone. You glance around at the faces of the monks. They sit unmoving, their expressions serene, but many a tear streaked in the fading twilight. The Buddha's presence in this moment feels both intimately human and utterly timeless. Even as death approaches, his final teachings cut through the fog of fear like sunlight through mist. With a wave of deep compassion, he consoles Ananda one more time. Everything that arises, Ananda, must one day pass away. Even this body is no exception. In that moment, you feel a deep stillness spread across the grove. The Buddha is teaching not just with his words, but with his very being. Here, on the fragile edge of death, he is demonstrating what it means to let go completely, and in that letting go, to be truly and eternally free. Night settles over the grove of sala trees. The air is cool, fragrant with the otherworldly scent of blossoms that continue to fall in silent, gentle cascades. Their pale petals drift over the saffron robes of the meditating monks like the soft, celestial snow. You sit among the gathered disciples, their forms as still and reverent as ancient statues, while the faint, warm glow of oil lamps illuminates the sacred scene. The Buddha lies reclined, his breathing now shallow but steady, his eyes open, as calm and as bright as ever, and he calls once more for Subhadra, an old wandering ascetic who had arrived just moments before, seeking truth at the 11th hour. Though his disciples tried to turn the old man away to give their master peace, the Buddha intervened. Let him come, he had insisted. Even now, if one seeks truth, I will teach. You watch as the dying teacher gives one last discourse. His words are brief but piercing, cutting through a lifetime of illusion with the same laser-like clarity they always possessed. Subhadra's face transforms before your very eyes, illumined by a sudden, dawning realization. In those mere moments, at the very edge of his teacher's life, he becomes the Buddha's final, enlightened disciple. A wave of awe settles over the grove. Even as death's shadow draws near, the Buddha's compassion does not falter for a single instant. Then, a new silence descends. The Buddha closes his eyes and begins to meditate. You watch, sensing a subtle shift in the atmosphere, as he passes effortlessly through the jhanas, the deep states of meditative concentration. His breath slows, then slows again, until his body is utterly still. And yet, there is a subtle radiance that seems to emanate from him, a soft glow beneath the moonlight. The earth itself seems to be holding its breath. The night deepens. The disciples remain unmoving, their faces lit by the flickering lamps and the cool moonlight streaming through the branches. Suddenly, the ground trembles faintly, a soft, deep tremor and a hushed murmur ripples through the assembly. You sense it, too, a quiet shift in the very fabric of the air, as if the universe itself is leaning in closer to witness this final passage. The Buddha opens his eyes one final time. He gazes upon his disciples, a look of infinite, unconditional love pouring from his eyes. His lips move, and you hear the words that will echo for millennia. Now, monks, I declare this to you all. Conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. Then, with a slow, steady, and final exhalation, he enters Parinirvana. His breath fades. The grove falls into a silence so profound it feels as if time itself has stopped. A single sala petal, released from its branch, drifts down through the still air and lands softly upon his motionless chest. You realize you are witnessing not just a death, but a passage, a doorway opening into the infinite. Dawn breaks gently over the grove of sala trees. The first rays of sunlight filter through the branches, illuminating a scene of profound stillness. The Buddha's body rests motionless, serene, a faint smile on his lips. Draped in his simple saffron robe, around him, the disciples remain seated in silence, some with tear-streaked faces, others composed, yet all deeply moved. The quiet of the night has given way to the soft sound of bird song, but the world feels irrevocably changed, as if it has shifted into a new era. Ananda rises slowly, his grief etched deep into his face, but it is a grief now tempered by a profound understanding. His voice is steady as he turns to the assembled monks. The Blessed One has passed into Parinirvana. His words hang in the crisp morning air, both heavy with loss and light with liberation. Some of the younger monks begin to cry openly, their raw, human sobs echoing through the grove. Too soon has the Blessed One left us. The light of the world has been extinguished. They lament, yet others, seasoned in years of practice, sit as still as stone, their faces calm, embodying the very equanimity the Buddha had spent a lifetime teaching. Among them, the elder monks gently remind the grieving, "Did he not tell us this would come? All things that arise must pass away. Do not weep." Soon, the grove fills with devotees from nearby villages, carrying flowers, incense, and offerings. For 7 days, the grove is transformed into a place of sacred remembrance. His body is surrounded with garlands of jasmine and marigold, and the air fills with the sound of chanting and the steady, gentle hum of drums and flutes. You watch as his funeral rites unfold with solemn grace. His body is wrapped in countless layers of fine cloth, anointed with fragrant oils, and placed upon a pyre of sandalwood. As the flames rise toward the heavens, the sala petals continue to fall, glowing softly in the firelight, a celestial rain of tribute. When the pyre cools, luminous relics remain, fragments of bone and ash. These sacred remnants are divided among kingdoms and enshrined in stupas across the land, marking the birth of pilgrimage sites that will endure for millennia, like seeds of the Dharma planted in the earth. In the days that follow, the first Buddhist council convenes. Monks gather to preserve his words, reciting his teachings from memory, weaving his living voice into the tapestry of time, ensuring his wisdom would survive far beyond his physical form. As you stand in the quiet aftermath, the truth becomes crystal clear. The Buddha is gone, yet not gone. His death was not an end, but the beginning. His presence lingers in the stillness of the grove, in the chants of the monks, in the golden dawn light bathing the earth. You close your eyes, breathing deeply. His final words echo within you. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence, and suddenly you feel it, not despair, but a profound sense of freedom. In his passing, the Buddha has left behind the ultimate gift, a map, a way to live, a way to let go, a way to awaken. His body may be gone, but his path shines brighter than ever, inviting you and all who follow to walk it with courage, mindfulness, and a peaceful heart. If this story of a life lived and ended with perfect wisdom has touched you, I invite you to continue exploring this profound path with us. This channel is a space dedicated not just to learning these timeless teachings, but to discovering how we can live them in our modern world. Please subscribe and join our community. Your presence here helps this light of wisdom reach others who may be seeking it. And let us know in the comments what part of the Buddha's final journey moved you the most. Thank you for walking this sacred path with us today. Until next time, may you strive on with diligence and find peace in your own journey.